Hey guys, I would just like to apologize. Towards the end of the podcast, we did have some technical difficulties, so it's going to be like a little abrupt end. Just do want to apologize for that. Sorry. Welcome to episode David Akers of BSing with S&B. I'm Sean. This is Brian. What's up, Brian?
Hello.
All right, so we're going to break down national championship game. We're going to talk about all the playoff games from last week, and then just preview the playoff games and who the Eagles will be facing in the NFC Championship game. So, without further ado, let's get into the national championship game. Graham, what did you think about the national championship game?
I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was every bit, if not better, than last year. It certainly had more drama than last year. I mean, last year, I guess it had the whole rematch angle. We got to see Deshaun Watson. But this year, I mean, we were texting. I said at halftime, if they want to win, they got to put in Tua. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name, the freshman from Hawaii. I mean, Jalen Hurts, he had 4 games this year where he threw for less than 123 yards. So this was something that I kind of thought coming in. He's going to struggle. You're not going to be able to play smash mouth football against this defense. That's how it played out. And then Tua came in that first, and he was just hucking and chucking the ball all over the place. It was exciting. It was unlike any Alabama offense we've ever seen. I mean, you take a look at the quarterbacks Nick Saban's won national championships with. You got Coker. You've got Greg McElroy, who's terrible on television. You got I can't even think of the other two because they're all just a carbon. AJ McCarron, who, a decent backup in the NFL, but you have these boring pocket passers. This year was a little bit different with Jalen Hurts than last year, but Tua brings the best from the pocket, the ability to scramble, make plays with his legs. And the scary thing is, Damian Harris comes back next year. Najee Harris will be a sophomore, and all of their best skill players, with the exception of Calvin Ridley, are freshmen. This is terrifying. They had a backup left tackle in, true freshman. This team is going to be even more talented offensively next year. And Nick Saban's defense is always going to be in the top 5 in the country. I don't see how they don't win a national title.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. The plethora of players that they have. It was definitely a game of two halves. Georgia dominated the first half. Bama had 24 plays for 97 total yards. They got out time of possession. Georgia had 20 minutes to Bama's 10. Sonny Michel was running all over them. And then, like you said, Tua came in and just everything changed. They started going deep. It looked like a totally different offense, I guess, because it was. I mean, even Nick Saban said, that he was able to do more stuff with Tua in there simply because he can throw. I mean, Jalen isn't really a very good passer. I think he only had like 17 touchdowns on the season, which is, ridiculous when you think about how often Alabama just crushes teams. So, it was definitely, a different offense to see, and it's like definitely more interesting and kind of scary for, the rest of the SEC to know that they have endless running backs, but they just keep on getting better and better. Now they got a quarterback that can throw it all around. Just true freshmen everywhere. It's ridiculous.
I have a bone to pick with Kirby Smart because it was coaching malpractice in that second half. They completely abandoned what they did in the first half, which led to all that explosive offense and production. On the last 3 drives of the game, Sony Michel had 1 touch. That can't happen. That can't happen.
In the second half, he had 6 carries for 37 yards. You know how much total offense they had if you take away that 80-yard touchdown?
I'm assuming 50 yards.
62 yards on 30
Yeah.
plays.
Yeah, I mean it was, and he was the guy who made the plays consistently against Oklahoma. He was the guy who was making plays in the first half. Nick Chubb, I mean, he was averaging, I think it was like less than 2 yards a carry in that game.
I think he finished the game with like 18 carries for 25 yards or something like that.
It's inexcusable. And then, I mean, Fromm came out. They did a good job. It was easy crossing patterns with nice windows to throw into. I mean, he took a shot every now and then just to keep the defense honest. Other than that bomb that he threw in the second half, like you said, it truly was a tale of two halves. It was the exact same thing that Lincoln Riley did when they played Georgia. They got in the second half. They had a little bit of a lead. They got conservative, and they didn't go for the kill.
Yeah, I mean, they still tried to throw the ball, and I think at that point they started trying to throw too much. I know that's what got them that lead, but I think, they should have definitely leaned on Sonny Michel a lot more than they did in the second half. I mean, they were giving Nick Chubb a bunch of carries. I mean, I think he got way too many carries. No reason he should have touched the ball 18 times.
Yeah.
And not performing. I think the game really changed though on that ticky-tack pass interference call that they had in the fourth quarter. I think that was a terrible call. I think that really changed the game. I think that when it happened, it was like something like 6 or 7 minutes left in the game. I mean, Georgia would have maybe not have scored, but been able to run, more time off the clock. I think that would have made a big difference, but I definitely didn't like that call.
And then you had a missed personal foul after a tackle on Jake Fromm, and clearly got pushed in the head. I mean, it was as clear as day right in front of the ref, no call. A face mask that just completely got missed on a crucial drive in the second half as well. There was a lot of missed calls. I mean, this game, it really
You got
was
the block punt offsides.
Yeah, the blocks, which, I mean, I understand because if it was false start, it's not going to be a play anyways. It's not going to get blocked. So that one I'm not too upset about, but it could have went either way. But, I mean, this game was the definition of going 0 to 100. I mean, in the second half, we had a player try to choke a coach and then curse out Nick Saban, only to come back on the field and clothesline a player on the kickoff. You had a kid that passed out, and they go to Tom Rinaldi and they say, "Tom, what's going on down there?" He basically says this kid is getting rushed to the hospital. We don't know what's going on. And then they go back to the game. Okay, third down. Jake Fromm drops back. Like nothing even happened. I mean, this game.
Me and my dad were sitting in the room when that happened, and they just cut in. It was like, oh yeah, he passed out, and goes back to the game. My dad's like, that they just killed his grandmother. Like she's dying right now. She's,
exactly.
Like, oh my God, what's going on with my grandson or my child or whatever? It's like that's ridiculous.
This game was the perfect picture of Southern college football. If you just showed somebody the first half, the second half, and everything that went on surrounding this game, it is the epitome of Southern college football, which in my opinion was a lot more enjoyable than the 4 games that we're going to talk about that happened in the NFL. Yeah.
Can we talk about how the cover 2, how that was the worst display of cover 2? Also, why would you run a cover 2 on a team that just simply been running verticals? That is terrible. That is coaching malpractice. Kirby Smart, for him to have been a DC for all that time and to just run cover 2 at that point in that game, it's like Lombardi said, if you check down the ball there, okay, cool, we rally and tackle, it's third and forever. Why the hell would you stop the flats? Let them run, make a play. Even if they got 10 yards, it's still third and 15, third and 16. Like, that is the dumbest play call of all time. I don't understand how. I think Tua even thought they were going to be in quarters, and then they see that, and he's like, "What the hell?" He gets a free release. The safety sitting in the middle of the field, like, what is going on?
It was
that was terrible.
It was second in Texas, and the corner doesn't get hands on the outside receiver. He doesn't get a jam on him, and then even he sinks. So in that, he didn't sink enough because they were able to complete an easy completion over top, and yet he's so deep in coverage. If they run a crosser or some sort of flat route, it probably would have been close to a first down anyway. He didn't do anything. It was the worst display of cover 2. Like you said, Kirby Smart, you got to know better. It's second forever. Maybe they were anticipating screen or draw there, but I mean, like you said, they had gone vertical 6 or 7 times in that second half. The first series they went vertical as soon as Tua came in. That was the vast majority of what their offense was stretching the field, and it was just the easiest pitch and catch that Tua has had in his starting career.
All right, now on to the NFL playoff games. We got the Chiefs-Titans game, which with my boy Andy Reid, that was a pretty bad display of, I wouldn't say coaching, but that was pretty bad on the team to let that happen and be up 21-3. I know they gave up, their best player went out the game. You could see how much Travis Kelce means to that offense because they were basically inept once he went out. Like, they couldn't do anything. But like we previewed last week, saying that the one way that they could beat them was just feed Derrick Henry. And for whatever in the first half they did, for whatever reason in the first half they didn't do that. But he got 23 carries and ran all up and down that Chiefs defense in the second half.
And this was exactly like we were talking about with the earlier games in college football. The Chiefs had a big lead, and instead of putting your foot down on the pedal and just blowing it out, not having to worry about anything. I felt like they got a little bit conservative in the second half. In the last 3 quarters of that game, do you know how many carries Kareem Hunt had?
There's a more
5.
better. There's. I understand that, but there's a better. No, he had more than that.
5 from quarters
Nuh-uh,
2,
and
3, and 4.
after the second half, they went punt, missed field goal, punt, and turnover on downs, and he had at least 5 in that.
Quarters 2, 3, and 4. 5 carries.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. But then again, they weren't really. I mean, like I said, they only had 4 possessions. So
Yeah.
it's not like they were really sustaining an offense. The only reason they were in position for a missed field goal was because of a turnover. So
Yeah.
I don't.
And like you said, I understand Travis Kelce, huge part of their offense. He's a big body, very athletic, huge mismatch. But you got Tyreek Hill, who's a dynamic playmaker. First half, they did a great job finding ways to get the ball in his hands in space, making plays. I just didn't see that in the second half. And Mike Mularkey, it's not like he had this great game plan and outcoached Andy Reid. He's chasing points with 14 minutes left with someone who bet the over almost threw up violently in his bathroom. And then the second 2-point conversion play is a rollout, which I absolutely hate. You cut the field in half. The defense only has to defend half of the field. It makes it more difficult for the quarterback to scramble. It was an awful play. And it hurts the only reason the Titans were able to make this comeback, a terrible non-fumble call when Marcus Mariota got woke up. And then
I think that was a pretty good call. He stopped. He didn't have forward momentum.
Oh my!
That was pretty bad.
His head did not have forward momentum because it almost got knocked all the way into the other end zone for a safety. But and then he completes a pass to himself for the touchdown. This game was absurd and for no good reason. I mean, it was just it was who wanted it. Who wanted to screw up the least is what this game came down to.
Put the team on his back. That's all I know. He was playing quarterback, running back, receiver, and on the last play of the game, he played O-line too because
I will say it was a great
game-winning block on.
It was a great block, and his throw to Decker was a dime. I mean, you got to give it to that. It was a beautiful throw over the middle, thread the needle. But man, that was just. And the Chiefs, when are they going to win a home playoff game?
If the Chiefs, I was just about to say that. If the Chiefs have a home playoff game, bet the other team.
I think so too.
We'll make that note for next year. They're 1-11 in their last 12 playoff games at home. They haven't, or 1-11 in their last 12 playoff games. They haven't won a home playoff game since 1994.
Yeah, and then I mean you pair this game with that game against the Colts that they lost a couple years ago, and it's just like, how much juice does Andy Reid have left? Phenomenal coach. I think he does a great job of adjusting his offense. He takes things from college before other coaches do. You saw Matt Nagy getting that head coaching job with the Bears, but man, win something for me, please. I mean, you got the talent. The defense. I understand Eric Berry was out, but still, you got tons of talent on defense, especially in that front seven. Just win one big game for me, Big Red.
He did win plenty of them when he was in Philly. So
that was 65 years ago.
In the playoff, in the Super Bowl era, in the playoffs, there's been 4 teams to give up an 18-point lead after halftime. You know, Andy has 2 of them. Can you name me the other 2? I'll give you a hint. One was last year. You're killing me, Smalls.
I know, I am. I'm trying to think who it could have been.
So you just forgot about the 28-3 Super Bowl.
Oh wow, yeah. Well, I mean,
and then
Patriots fatigue is really
way back. The Bills played
the Bills
Oilers
35-3 game.
Yeah, 35-3. With my boy Frank Reich, who we'll be talking about a little bit later. The second game we got the Bills Jags. I don't know if you really want to go into.
It was a rock fight. Can we just say that was a rock fight? And Blake Bortles was throwing a lot of rocks.
Bortles is horrid.
It was awful.
He missed a screen pass by like 5 yards on one play. Like, he is pretty bad. I would have liked to see 100% healthy Shady in that game, because even on 1 foot he had 119 yards from scrimmage. I'd really like to see what he could have done, to that defense, especially with them not being good against the run. It would have been really nice to see. Other takeaway I took from that game, not that the Bills have a great passing offense, but Jalen Ramsey is the best corner in the NFL. Don't, and anybody can fight me about that if they want to.
And you know what? The only reason that he is the best corner in the NFL is because Dallas decided not to draft him, and immediately that elevated him to Hall of Fame status. So he has
He
Jerry
would have been a
Jones.
tire fire if he was on the Cowboys.
Mo Claiborne. Yeah, he would have been Mo Claiborne. He
He
would
would
have
have
been
been Mo
okay,
Claiborne, exactly.
and then been a seatbelt as soon as he left in 5 years.
Another thing, I think Boye might be top 5 too, because he's another dog over there.
That's the one
Both
thing.
of those dudes are kennel bred.
Yeah, depending on what Antonio Brown's health is, I think they can really muddy that game up a little bit if they're able to run the ball. And I really like if they play the Patriots. I mean, Gronk obviously is a huge matchup problem for him, but I mean, when you have the ability to really slow down the opponent's passing offense, and they've got some dudes in that front seven that can get out the passer with Marcel Darius, Dante Fowler starting to play a little bit better, Calais Campbell, obviously. I think they're a type of team that can come in, make it a rock fight, which they have to, especially with Blake Bortles back there. And, Fournette hasn't looked great to me. I don't know if he's banged up a little bit or what it may be, but they get a real grand slam effort out of Leonard Fournette. I mean, they could make their way to the Super Bowl kind of like how those old school Bears teams did with Rex Grossman.
Yeah, I don't think it's any chance that they beat either the Steelers or the Pats. But I will definitely be taking those points on on Sunday. You don't have to worry about that. I'm definitely betting on the Jags on Sunday. Then we go on to the Falcons-Rams game. I think the moment looked a little bit too big for the Rams. I don't think they were ready for that.
Yeah, once again, terrible weekend for me to the book, but I had the Rams 6.5. I loved them. They're a number 2 team in DVOA. They were let's take a look here, 6 in offense, number 6 in defense. Loved Wade Phillips going against that Atlanta offense, especially because I haven't liked how they looked under Steve Sarkisian. And like you said, that moment was way too big. Specifically, Farrah Cooper, who I'm going to send some hate mail this week because he single-handedly lost in that game.
I mean, I do understand what you're saying. I don't understand why you wouldn't, talk to me. We usually talk about our picks before the game, what we're going to bet on, and you just went rogue this weekend. I don't know what happened. I went 3-1 this weekend. The only game that I didn't win, or the only bet I didn't win, was the Falcons-Rams. I took the Falcons, but I also took the over, and of course, neither team wanted to show up offensively. So, I mean, I lost that one, but yeah, you should have definitely looked at talked to me.
I was too busy trying to defrost in the city of Boston that had a negative 30-degree wind chill. So I'll take blame.
Well, you chose to go up there to see a pretty bad Boston Celtics team.
Yeah, real bad. But I like you said, Goff, he just didn't look as efficient. Todd Gurley, 10 yards on 10 targets. I mean, really, like who would have ever thought that this offense just kind of fell apart? I think the Falcons, they have an okay athletic defense. I think at times they can really play great, but man, I expected. I've been on the Rams bandwagon all year. I love their season win total over everything about the Rams, and then young head coach. First time in the spotlight, they didn't show up. And I'll say, I'm not 100% positive. Sitting your guys week 17 is always the best thing. You want to avoid injury, but to me, it looks like they came out flat. They came out a little rusty. I don't know.
That's why the Eagles are going to win, because they didn't sit there, guys. So, but back on to this Falcons-Rams game. The Falcons' offense was pretty pedestrian, actually. I mean, Matt Ryan only had 218 yards passing. I know a lot changes when you get in short fields, but they didn't really do, a whole bunch. I mean, their run game, they were only 3 yards a carry. I think the biggest thing, though, like you said, I mean, the moment looked too big, and then Goff threw the ball 45 times. Like, you're not going to win with Jared Goff throwing the ball 45 times.
And the worst part is Gurley was effective running the ball, had over 100 yards. He just didn't get a lot of carries, and I think it's because they fell behind pretty early with the turnovers, and they panicked a little bit. He got away from the game plan, got away from what really carried them the last 4 or 5 weeks of the year. And just like you said, you can't win throwing the ball 45 times unless you have Aaron Rodgers.
So maybe by process of elimination, basically Mike Mularkey is a better coach than McVay because he didn't get away from the run game. All right, I'm done. But onto the Panthers-Saints game. I really like this game. The Panthers basically said your running backs aren't going to beat us like they did the first 2 games. Drew Brees beat us, and then Drew Brees was like, "Oh yeah, well I'm a Hall of Famer, so let me show you. Let me work real quick."
I mean, and we saw why the Saints were the number 1 team in DVOA this year. They have the number 2 offense, largely a part of Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram, who have been getting all the press this year. But guess what? They still have freaking Drew Brees back there slinging the pigskin to Michael Thomas, who has been an incredible dynamic playmaker out of Ohio State. I absolutely love this team. They're very young on offense. Drew Brees is probably the only starter really that's, past his prime, so to say. And the defense, they fly around. They make some plays. I thought Cam, had something going, and then all of a sudden he got his head knocked off in the second half by one of the hardest hits I've ever seen in my life. He turned directly into was it Sheldon Rankins or Cameron?
I don't even remember who it was, but yeah, they did kill him.
Someone needed to get the number of the truck that hit him because that was one of the most violent things I've seen. And he was back in 3 plays, so, it was like nothing even happened. But
he wasn't hurt. The helmet just came down on his eyes. There's a difference.
Yeah.
He wasn't concussed.
Yeah, he was seeing 6 people out there the whole time running powders down the field. But it was an exciting game, like you said. They said, listen, you're not going to run the ball. If you're going to beat us, Drew Brees is going to beat us, which if you're the Saints, it's not a bad backup plan to have Drew Brees go out there and sling the ball. So, but I really enjoyed it.
Running backs. Yeah, let me just give Drew Brees 35. Let him throw the ball 35 times. Like, what the? Yeah, I don't know. Let him throw against, base defense all the time.
Yeah.
I think the biggest problem, though, was the Panthers couldn't convert in the red zone. They were terrible in the red zone. You also had Graham Gano missing the kick early, which was weird to see. I mean, it was a chip shot, 25-yarder that he missed. But, yeah, I think that was the biggest problem. You can't take field goals on a team like that. Yeah, you're taking away time of possession, you're running clock, but you can't take field goals against them.
And a lot of people are going to kill Sean Payton for going for it on that 4th and 2 late in the game.
That was a terrible call.
I loved it. You go for the kill, you get the first down, the game's over. If you're the Saints, do you have more faith in your offense getting 2 yards or your defense stopping Cam Newton? I think with their offense, with the talent they have, I don't like the play call. I like the decision to go for it.
That was a terrible call. In a game where the team only has to what do they have to get? They had to get a touchdown. But where the team has to get a touchdown, you don't give them the ball and timeouts with a minute or minute 30 left in the game. If it wasn't for I forgot whoever picked off the ball for picking it off instead of just swatting it down, that was terrible. That was terrible. Yeah. And he got bailed out because, Cam was seeing 4 different receivers.
Exactly,
and Devin Funchess couldn't get his head turned around to catch an easy pop-up fly in the end zone.
Yeah. I'm telling you, though, that's what I want to see out of my coach. Just go for the kill. If not, your defense still has a chance to make a stop. It's just 60 yards to defend instead of, so many times they punt it, and then it goes in the end zone for a touchback. You're only really getting 15 to 20 yards of field position. Yeah, it's important, but
Brian, you do realize that is the difference between having to go 30 yards to have a real chance at the end zone into 60. Going 80 yards to score a touchdown instead of 50 is a big difference, Brian.
Yeah, but so how many times do we see defenses come out, they play prevent defense, they're just guarding the sidelines, and teams just dink and dunk the ball all the way down the field anyways. So for me, you go for the kill, you get it. If not, you still throw your defense out there, and they have the ability to make a stop with it.
That's a terrible call, and this is why you like Jason Garrett. This is the reasons. Because Jason Garrett would do something like that.
Jason Garrett does not have the guts to go for it on 4th down, I think. Even the fake punt they had this year against the Raiders, which saved their season, it was the punter, Chris Jones himself, saying, I got this, and just taking off. Jason Garrett didn't even call it. He was as surprised as everyone else, and he gets all the credit. I hate Jason. Oh, we're moving on before I get into this.
On to, the real games that matter. We got the Falcons at the Eagles this week to start off. The Eagles have been so disrespected in this game, and I love it. I'm actually all about it. They're the first ever home dog, number 1 seed home dog in a playoff game, which is absolutely ridiculous.
As they should.
And then for them to bet in public to be betting 66% on the Falcons, that means just go Eagles.
Yeah, as they should. Listen, if anybody but Napoleon Dynamite Nick Foles was out there throwing the football, I would be with you on the Eagles. I love their defense. They fly around. They make plays. Secondary's a little bit iffy, but, they've shown flashes at time. But, man, Nick Foles, I don't understand how anybody can have even the slightest bit of confidence. Even in his quote-unquote good game against the Giants, the 1 touchdown was an extended handoff. The guy had his own area code in the end zone. The other one was a bad throw that Nelson Aguilar bailed him out on, and he still only had just north of 200 yards. He looked awful against the Raiders. He looked awful against the Cowboys in the first, what was it, half or a quarter that he played in that game. I don't see him going against this Falcons defense, which I said earlier, you're athletic, they fly around, they can make some plays. It's going to be a long, long day if Philly isn't able to just pound the ball, which they may, but I don't think so. I think Atlanta's going to make them one-dimensional. It's going to be a long day for Nick Foles back there.
You're forgetting to realize the fact that we talked about earlier that the Falcons' offense was very pedestrian last week against an even more pedestrian Rams defense.
Yeah,
and the Eagles don't have that problem. Where the Rams can come at you, with a couple of guys to get after the quarterback who were still consistently getting pressure on Matt Ryan. That's not the same as coming at you 6 and 7 deep that the Eagles can do with their defensive line. I think the big thing will be the run game, like you said. But like I've told you before, we don't need Nick Foles to beat Carson Wentz. We just need Nick Foles to not turn over the ball.
Well, that's the thing.
He left the lead. He left the game with the lead against Drew Brees a couple years ago, throwing for 195 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's against Drew Brees.
So, the Eagles defense finished 5th in DVOA, the Rams 6th. So I don't think it's going to be much of a difference. I do think, depending on what the weather is going to be this weekend, that might give the Falcons a little bit of fits, depending on just how cold it gets. Like you said, if Foles doesn't turn the ball over and throws north of 200 yards, Eagles have a chance. I just don't know if he can. I don't know if he can.
They also have 3 running backs who are all capable.
They are, but the Falcons are going to line up and they're going to say, quite like what the Panthers did to the Saints. They're going to say, you're not going to beat us running the football. You're not going to be able to run it down our throats. And the guys on the outside are going to have to make plays.
The Eagles' offensive line is a lot better than the Rams' offensive line, who Gurley ran for 7 yards a carry on. I think you're missing all these things. You want to hate so much on the Eagles and just, poo-poo Nick Foles as if he didn't have 27-2 one year, which is fine. It's all understandable. I would be the same way if I was a Cowboys fan, watching from the couch. But I just think that you guys are everybody, the whole world, which I've always said I always think the Eagles have played better when they were, quote-unquote, the underdog. Even when we were good in the beginning of the season, I would always say, oh, God, I don't like that we're getting, 7 points against this team. I would really like it to be, like us to be a dog or something like that. I hate when the Eagles are, showing that they're or not showing, but, everybody thinks that they're the team to beat. I always like the underdog role. And I think this is just disrespectful. To be a 3-point underdog. So they're saying on a neutral field or a home game that they're a 6-point better team than us.
Yeah.
Got 13 wins on the season. Would have been 14 if the starters played. We played against the Dallas defense or Dallas offense, who by no stretch was like a great offense, but our backups only gave up 6 points to that team. Come on, this is the same Dallas team that was 13-3 last year. So I think that they're being a little bit disrespectful with the whole nonsense of, them getting 3 points on this game. I think that's a little bit ridiculous, and I'm loving that the betting public is going with the Falcons. Like I said, bring on the disrespect. I'm all for it, because when the Eagles win on Saturday, I'm going to flood the group chat. Y'all are getting so much hate mail.
This is the thing, though. So the Eagles got roasted by Eli Manning. They should have lost.
And a W.
They should. It's the second worst team in the NFL.
They
should have lost to the Oakland Raiders, another terrible team in the NFL. And then they lost to the Dallas Cowboys.
W.
They lost to a Dallas Cowboys team that didn't want to win that game. They finished the season so pedestrian after that Wentz injury. I just don't see. The line to me makes perfect sense. If Wentz is playing, they're probably 6-point dogs. He's worth a little bit more than a touchdown to this team with how he played this year. But I can't see Nick Foles going in and getting the job done. I can't. If he does, I'll eat my words. You can spend the whole next podcast roasting me, but I don't see how he does it.
So you're taking Falcons -3.
I'm going to take a road favorite. I got to. Sorry.
All right, so I'm just going to tell you here, you can mark this at time 32 minutes. The Eagles are going to win by 2 scores. 9 points. There you go. Mark it down. Now, on to the Titans and Patriots, which could be a bloodbath, or it could be, a very ugly game. I mean, Vegas got the Pats minus 14, which I love the Titans. I'm going to pound the Titans plus 14 in that game because I think they can make it very ugly. Demo doesn't look like Demo's playing again, so Malarkey can't, by mistake, give him like 15 carries like he probably would do, and Derrick Henry, can probably get 30. The Pats are horrible against the run. I mean, they gave up 114 yards a game this year. I think that if the Titans make it ugly, they can keep it close. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to pick them to win because that would just be ludicrous, but I think that they could definitely keep it close. I mean, it helps them a lot. That is going to be, cold weather. They won't want to throw the ball a whole bunch.
Patriots have the 31st defense in the NFL, and it was any but Mike Malarkey's 19-20 offense of the town. I would be a little bit worried. This is the type of game, 14 points. I would be 0% surprised if we look up in the third quarter and it's 36 Patriots and they're just rolling. This is what they do. I fully believe in the conspiracy theory that report that came out on ESPN last week was planted by Bob Kraft himself for motivation for the Patriots this year to get them going in the playoffs. I'm not going to buy turmoil affecting this team. It's just death, taxes, Patriots going to the Super Bowl. I feel like this is a 17-point win. Maybe Tennessee gets a trash time TD or score to make it look a little bit closer than it was.
Yeah, so I'm going to be all over that plus 14. And I think the over-under was 41. I think it was. No, 47. Yeah, I'm going to be all over that under. It's going to be an ugly game. And I'm
There's not going to be a lot of
all over
possessions
it for the Titans. Yeah, exactly. And I'm all over that for the Titans. Then we go to Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, where I really like this game. I think it'll be a very interesting game. You got the Steelers that Vegas has them as a minus 7.5.
Yep.
I'm not sure what the over-under for this game is, but I think this would be a great game had it been for. I'm not sure how healthy Antonio Brown is. Almost.
There it is. There we go. We got it right.
I'm not sure. I'm just going with AB from now on. I'm not sure how healthy AB is. I would have loved to seen him against Ramsey all game or even Bouye. But I think we're gonna not see a lot of that. I think he's gonna be used a lot as a decoy. I think the recipe for this game for Pittsburgh is to just run the ball, pound Le'Veon.
Yeah. I remember the last time these two teams played, the Jacksonville Jaguars picked off Ben Roethlisberger. I believe it was 5 times. They beat them so bad he was contemplating retirement post game. I mean, he literally came out and said, "I don't know if I have it anymore." They beat the hell out of him. I don't think it's going to be like this time, obviously, in Pittsburgh. Cold weather for Jacksonville. But I do think it's going to be a little bit of a low-scoring affair. I do think Blake Bortles looks better than he did against Buffalo last week. I would probably lean Jacksonville here just because I love defense in the playoffs, especially in cold weather. They have the best defense according to DVOA. Like we said, by far the best secondary. And when we say best secondary, this isn't just like, oh, yeah, they're great. Like, if you compare them, they are right up there with those Rondé Barber Tampa Bay Buccaneers teams and those Denver Broncos teams back when they actually had a pulse. Like, this is a legit secondary that can make plays, whether or not they can contain Le'Veon Bell, which, he's already talking about his contract for next year. Could be a little bit of distractions. That team has been a little bit dysfunctional this year with everything going on, but I still think they end up winning again. I'll take the Steelers.
I don't understand how Pitt can do, or how Jacksonville can do anything, I mean, they have Blake Bortles at quarterback. I don't think Mike Tomlin's a guy that's going to really be have to worry about, I think he's going to put a bunch of guys in the box, and you just say, Blake beat us. I mean, Blake's not going to be able to run for 80 yards again like he did last week. And they had a pretty pedestrian run game. I mean, Leonard Fournette didn't really do anything last week either. So, I don't know. I think it'll be an interesting game. I think in the end, Pittsburgh wins, but I do think that I'm definitely taking this Jacksonville plus 7.5. I do think it'll be a close game. And so next we got the Saints and Vikings. Vegas has it as a Vikings -4, and I really like the Saints in this game. 62% of the people are on the Saints. I think this will be a really different game than the first time. I mean, the first time AP was on the team, they were still trying to find their way, how many reps they wanted to give to Kamara, how many reps they wanted to give the Ingram, how they were keeping AP happy. You had him hollering at Sean Payton on the sideline. So I do think this will be, a really different game. Although the Vikings do have the second best pass defense and run defense in the NFL, which I think is scary.
Are amazing. I mean, when you look at that defense at every level, they just have dudes everywhere. And don't forget, I mean, the first time they played also, Dalvin Cook was playing. So this is going to be a little bit of a different game. But like you said, when you look at the Vikings defense, you got Harrison Smith, who should be the defensive player of the year. Didn't even make the Pro Bowl, which is absurd. He wouldn't have played in any way.
You say he should be the defensive player of the year?
Look at this. It's absurd. The impact he has on that
over Aaron Donald.
Yes.
Aaron Donald took a whole offseason off and then just came back and was still Superman.
Sitting on the couch now while my man Harrison Smith's getting funky. You got Harrison Smith, you got Xavier Rhodes, Everson Griffin, Anthony Barr. Just have guys all over the place make plays on this defense. Love Mike Zimmer, the pirate out there with one eye coaching up the defense. They're fantastic. The only thing that really worries me, like you said, last time they had AP yelling at Peyton on the sideline, and they weren't really utilizing Alvin Kamara a little bit. Case Keenum's going to be in there playing quarterback. You know what would be poetic? You know what would be the best case scenario for me as an innocent bystander? Is if Sammy Sleeves came in late in this game and threw 2 touchdowns and led the Vikings to the next round of the playoffs. I almost want the Eagles to win so that Sam Bradford can come in there and win a playoff game, just to tell the Eagles fans, I told you so. And another interesting tidbit that really doesn't have anything to do with anything, but the Saints could be the first team in NFL history to play 3 games in an away stadium. Played their week 1, they'll play them this week, and the Super Bowl will also be in Minnesota.
Yeah, well, too bad they would have to come through Philly first, but we all know how that goes. You're going to be so mad when they host the NFC Championship game, like I've told you for about 5 weeks now. But yeah, I think that's definitely going to be the best game of the weekend for sure.
Yeah.
Just to see how Sean Payton and Mike Zimmer go at each other, I think is going to be really interesting. I'll also be very interested to see what they do with Michael Thomas. Are they going to have Xavier Rhodes shadow him? Are they going to try to hide him by putting him somewhere on like Trey Waynes, who's a walking pass interference? So I think it'll be very interesting to see how they do against that. If I was them, I would really try to go at Sendejo. Like, he's the worst person on that defense, which is saying something. But it would be nice to see them, try to go at him or try to get a game plan or something. I do think that Alvin Kamara being split out could present a lot of problems for them, because the changes, do they, use a linebacker on him? Do they try to bring down a safety? If they are bringing down a safety, which one is it? So I think that'll be, very interesting to see what they do with that.
I think, too, Harrison Smith is phenomenal safety. The one thing that he doesn't do at a high level is play man coverage. So if you can get him in space, sometimes you can turn him around and be able to make a play. But he's Zimmer versus Payton. You want to talk about 2 heavyweights, coaches who excel at their craft. Contrast of styles, the high-flying Saints against the ugly physical Vikings. I mean, this is going to be a great game. And I'm by far the game I'm looking forward to the most this weekend.
We got some QB carousel. So as of right now, there will probably be 9 openings for a quarterback. And then we got Kirk Cousins, who's saying that he would like to, or not like to, but he would not say no to the Browns.
So no, Sean, he would love to go to Cleveland. All right, just because Washington is a pit of misery. You get Kirk Cousins in there in Cleveland. You trade down from 1 because Saquon Barkley is going to be a bust. Yeah, I said it. Came out. You can mark this down on the podcast. So when he's an all-pro, you can at me. But Saquon Barkley is going to be a bust. You trade down. You get 4. You get a mid-first-round pick. You get best player available at both spots. And then Kirk Cousins gets to be a human pinata for the rest of the season while sitting on a mountain of cash.
I don't think it's any way that they can go down into the mid-first. I think if there was anybody to come up, it might be somebody like the Jets or something like that, who's sitting around like 6 or something like that. So they might end up with like 4 and 6. You take BPA at that point. Maybe your boy McGlinchey or something like that, because you never know what's going to happen with Joe Thomas, and then like a Minkah Fitzpatrick, who I'm in love with. I would love for something to happen in the Eagles to get him, but obviously that's not a possibility. But where do you think Alex Smith will end up? I have my ideas, but where do you think Alex Smith will end up?
This is a tough one. First off, I think a lot of this hinges on is Bortles coming back in Jacksonville, because I think that really gets the revolving door going because then I think there's a possibility maybe Eli goes to Jacksonville solely because of the Tom Coughlin connection.
Hmm.
I mean, he doesn't streak anymore. I think that relationship soured a little bit with the complete idiotic benching of him in the season. But I think the one person to really keep an eye out is Elway. I think he's sick and tired of this waiting game with the young quarterbacks, Paxton Lynch, Trevor Siemian, both are tire fires. I think he would be the person, Alex Smith, familiar with the division. I don't think he's that bad. They've got good talent. He can get the ball to Emmanuel Sanders and Marius Thomas. This year, he was able to throw the ball downfield, which is something we haven't associated with Alex Smith in the past. I think Denver would probably be, in my opinion, the best fit for Alex Smith next year. It's a team that's looking to compete, and I think Elway's a little bit gun shy with his own QBs now.
Yeah, for sure. I do think that it would definitely have to be a team that's already close, not close, but a team that isn't looking to just rebuild or something like that. I think it's just a team that's looking to retool. Right now, the 9 openings that I said I have are the Bills, the Jets, the Jags, the Bengals, because Dalton is a 2.4 cap hit to let go. The Browns, the Broncos, Washington, Giants, and the Cardinals. And then, whatever happens with the Vikings, you don't know. I know a lot of people are saying that if Shermer leaves, then Keenum would go with him. So that would be, very interesting to see. But yeah, I don't know. I think Alex Smith, the best place would be the Broncos. He knows that division. He probably doesn't have to move a whole bunch. I think that would be the best place. Where do you think, Tyrod Taylor or Bradford or your boy Bortles will end up?
I don't think Bortles is going to be starting quarterback next year because I think the Jags bring in someone proven, and that I believe his fifth-year option is about $18 million. It's too pricey. You can't bring him back, especially for a team that we saw how great their defense is. Granted, he got a little bit of a raw deal. All of his wide receivers were hurt this year. But Allen Robinson's a free agent as well, so depending on what that cap situation is in Jacksonville, they already paid Allen Hurns. Maybe Allen Robinson walks in free agency. I would like to see Sam Bradford go to Washington to replace Kirk Cousins. And he'd still probably cost north of $20 million, which is absurd at that point. Why would you sign Kirk long term? But I think they've already damaged that relationship beyond repair. I could see Kirk Cousins. He's the wild card. I mean, you got Garoppolo going back to San Francisco. Maybe he goes to Buffalo. Maybe, but is that a better situation than he would have had in Washington? I don't know. I mean, he's got McCoy there. Doesn't really have any weapons. Cold weather. I would really like to see the Bradford go to Washington. I think he'd be a good fit with Gruden. Gruden definitely doesn't want to have a young quarterback, and plus where they're sitting in the draft, they're not going to be able to get one of the really talented guys. Alex Smith in Denver, like we mentioned. I think Eli to Jacksonville would be pretty spicy. I'd like to see that. The Bengals is the tough one. They bring back Marvin Lewis, so I don't think they want to go the direction of a young quarterback. Maybe they bring in someone like Case Keenum. It depends on who knows what these figures are going to be for these quarterbacks in the market this year. And now more than ever, free agency is very important. It used to be you had to nail your draft to keep your guys. We're starting to see with teams like the Green Bay Packers rely heavily on homegrown talent. That's not the case anymore. You got to break out the checkbook every now and then, make some splash in free agency. But Tyrod Taylor, I could see him in Cincinnati. I really could. I think he's the type of quarterback that Marvin Lewis would feel comfortable with. But is he better than Andy Dalton?
I'm not sure their cap situation is, but I would really like if there was a team for Kirk, that would be perfect for Kirk. I mean, you get AJ Green, who you said was the best wide receiver in the NFL, which is ridiculous. But I think I think him there. They have weapons. They have a good run game. Their offense line is a little bit iffy, but I do think that I think him there would be a good fit. All right, well, that'll wrap it up for episode David Akers of BSing with S&B. We'll see you next week to just go back over the different things that happened in the playoffs.